Hey everybody, Misty Williams here with Healing Rosie, and this is going to be an awesome Facebook Live today because I have Steve Hollingshead from Ulta Labs with me. Last week, I posted in our group that Ulta Labs was giving every member of our community a free T3, it's kind of tricky, lab test. This is the lab that we talk about a lot in our community because it's the one that helps you to ascertain whether or not your thyroid, the active form of thyroid, is actually being created as TSH converts to free T4, converts to free T3. This is the test that we use to see if someone has hypothyroidism or not. And as you guys know, because of the conversations we've been having, most doctors will test TSH only. Sometimes a doctor will test TSH and free T4, but if you're not working with a functional medicine doctor, they often won't test free T3, which is how we know if you've got enough thyroid hormone in your system. And we even have people in our community who are seeing a functional medicine doctor who still isn't running the free T3 test. So this test is really important. If you have been experiencing a lot of brain fog or fatigue, or you're having trouble losing weight, or you've been unexpectedly gaining weight, it is very likely that you have a thyroid problem going on. And it's definitely something that you want to rule in or out. You could do everything right. And if your free T3 is low, all the things you do won't get traction. So here's an example. In 2017, I started having unexpected weight gain. If I ate more than maybe 5 or 10 carbs, which you guys know is super, super low, I would put on a pound or two. If I had a little bit of sweet potato, or if I had vegetables that were a little more starchy, and definitely if I had any fruit or carbs like that, you know, I would gain a pound or two, and then it wouldn't come off. And another day or 2 or 3 would go by, and I would have a little more carbs, and I would gain another pound or two. It wasn't like this whole idea of calories in, calories out, you know, eat less than you burn, in a lot of ways is a fallacy, because if our metabolism is shut down because we don't have enough thyroid hormone in our system, or if we do have good thyroid hormone levels and we don't have the important cofactors like selenium and iodine, our body won't absorb the thyroid hormone that is in our system. So many women have issues with this. You see it in our community, people talking about it all of the time, finding out that they have a thyroid issue. And the good news is that if you do have something going on with your thyroid, it's pretty easy for most of us to supplement in the right ways and get our thyroid function back. So I'm really excited that Steve and Ulta Labs agreed to give us this test, because it is the one that it seems women have the hardest time getting. So we are going to talk today about Ulta Labs and the program that Steve and his team have put together to help all of us get access to our labs at a really affordable cost without a doctor's prescription. So Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's awesome to finally chat with you. So as you guys probably don't know, Steve and I have been talking about doing this since, I think, end of January. I met Steve and one of his partners at an event, and he sat down, told me about his company, and immediately like bells were going off in my head, because one of the things that we do is we're learning to advocate for ourselves is get our labs done. One of the things that I encourage everyone in the community to do is to run all of the optimizing labs that are in the Healing Rosie lab tracker, so you get a sense of what's going on in your own body. That tracker is a powerful tool. It tells you what the optimal ranges are, which is different than the disease ranges that we learn about when we get our labs done conventionally. You know, you'll get your lab report and it'll have what they call normal ranges, and I like to call those disease ranges, because you could be pretty far along that spectrum and have all sorts of symptoms presenting. But if you're not to an advanced disease state, a lot of times your labs won't show with those normal ranges that there's a problem in your body, which is really frustrating, because if you don't know what's going on, if you don't know that you're trending in a negative direction, you don't have the insights you need to make the lifestyle changes that are going to change that trajectory for you. So lab work is important. Steve, I'm super excited about your company. Why don't you give us just a little bit of background here on why you decided to start Ulta?
Sure. Thank you. 6 years ago, there was a group of the original Ulta starters that we had a different health care company. As we were transitioning from where we were at to where we wanted to go in the future, one of the things was we had personal family members that had fallen ill and went in for lab testing prices, and they were so extreme, literally a financial burden to some of our team members that I work with, that I currently work with. And we realized that something's wrong, something's broken in the system, that lab test to determine celiac disease is running $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and the lab test just kept mounting up, and the insurance companies kept stating that we don't cover that test. We don't do that test. You're not at the correct stage of illness for us to cover it. And so we were able to, through our connections in the health world, be able to put together a program where we can take our lab tests directly to the consumers and through our network and be able to offer extremely low cost lab tests. We do it because number one, we have family members and we knew we had to come up with a solution. But number two is that through the technology that we have of the internet, we're able to touch so many more lives quickly. We have a network of medical directors nationwide that provide all of the script writing authority. And that's still the main thing. When you need lab tests, you do need to have a physician write that order for you so that you can go to the lab, be able to have those tests done. The way we've been able to put our program together, we do have those physicians available, and it allows individuals such as your group to be able to come to the website and order lab tests that they need, and be able to go into the lab and have the results delivered directly to them, so that you're able to see what's happening with your biomarkers, be able to work with your healthcare professional, whichever one you choose, whether it's a primary care physician or a naturopath, a dietitian, nutritionist. You'll have the results available in hand to be able to move forward with them.
Yeah, so this is really awesome, because one of the things that comes up a lot, and this is what I dealt with. So I started my journey back in 2011, and after my surgery that I've talked quite a bit about, and the follow-up surgery because of the complication from the first surgery, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And I went into my doctor and I asked her, what causes endometriosis? What lifestyle changes do I need to make in order to combat this disease? And she told me that we don't know what causes endometriosis. You can Google it. I can put you on birth control, or we can do surgery if this comes back. And I left her office feeling so disempowered, because there wasn't one bit of insight that she could give me to help me manage what was going on in my body. And it set me on a mission, of course. I mean, this whole community that we have now with Healing Rosie really has birthed out of my own experience struggling. But I went to my primary care doctor after that appointment, and I asked her to run labs. I started experiencing crazy symptoms. I wasn't sleeping well at night. I went through over 144 hours without sleeping, and it just crushed my entire endocrine system when that happened. I was dealing with brain fog. I was moody. A year into it, I had 45 pounds of unexpected weight gain, so all these symptoms. I mean, I feel like I was kind of put through the ringer, but I went to my primary care doctor and I was like, what's going on? I just can't accept that we don't know anything about endometriosis, and there's nothing that we can look at in my lab work to see what's going on in my body so that I can reclaim my health. And she fought me and fought me and fought me on running any additional tests, trying to tell me that my labs were normal, everything's fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. Things are not normal. And my story is actually not uncommon in our community and in our space at large. Even before I started Healing Rosie, I was hearing stories of women who were in the same situation as I was, knowing that something's wrong in their body. They go to their doctor, they ask for lab work, they ask for testing, something to help them figure it out. And the doctor tells them that everything's normal, everything's fine. This is a normal part of aging. Maybe you need to eat less if you don't like your weight gain, like they put it back on the person, like we're all just hypochondriacs who are just making this up. So the program that you've put together is exciting to me because it gives us power as consumers. We don't have to rely on our doctors to run the labs. Another thing that comes up a lot is someone will go in, and like the thyroid example that I started our interview here with, they'll go in and they say they want the thyroid testing, and their doctor only runs a couple of the tests. They don't run all of the tests. Well, now what you can do is you can have the tests run that your doctor will prescribe, and on that very same day, go in and get the rest of your labs drawn through Ulta. And now you've got a more holistic picture of what is actually going on in your body. So this is like, I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm so excited because this is a way for us to take back our power, all of us to take back our power. And I'm really excited that you've put this program together. So one of the things I did with Steve and his team is I gave him our lab tracker. And I told them that we wanted to have different panels put together. So it comes up a lot. You know, I talk a lot about Epstein-Barr. Over 90% of us are infected. For women, probably one of the primary reasons that we feel so much fatigue is because of this Epstein-Barr chronic infection that many of us have been dealing with for 10, 20, 30 or more years, right? So doctors typically don't even know what tests to run. So Ulta's put together an Epstein-Barr panel so that you can go in, order just the 4 tests that will help you to see if you have the Epstein-Barr. It's the 4 proper tests. You don't have to worry about a doctor not ordering the right tests for you because it's already all set up. So we've got an Epstein-Barr panel in there. We've got a complete thyroid panel, hormone plus thyroid, hormones only, and all of the panels from the lab tracker to make it super easy. And in the status here, I actually have a link where you can go and see all the different packages of labs that Ulta's put together to make it super easy for you to get your own labs done based on whatever it is that you're working on biohacking in your own system. And I recommend everyone do a complete lab panel at least once a year. So Steve, why don't you tell us just a little bit about what you've put together in that system? And I know you've steeply discounted those labs for us.
Exactly. So we've taken and highlighted the tests that are recommended, whether it be for the hormone panel, whether it be for the Epstein-Barr panel. We put them together and we make it just a simple point and click. When you go to the Healing Rosie site, you'll be able to see them as featured tests. We've grouped, I think there's probably 7 or 8 of the panels, and it's simply just adding it to the cart. But as a consumer, our site's built to educate you. So you're able to click on those sites, be able to see what tests are involved, what biomarkers are being involved. And those tests right now, we are running a special for the group, an additional 20% off. You'll find that these tests are generally 80% off of what you would pay at the lab. And we see it day in and day out. We receive so many testimonials from consumers that use our site that are so excited. Just received one this week where a gal had reordered the exact same test that she had with her physician. Through her physician, it was $1,331. And when she reordered them using the Ulta Lab test program, it was $305 for the exact same test. So your followers that come in and take a look at the different thyroid panels, the different Epstein-Barr, whether it be a comprehensive metabolic panels that we have, you are going to save tremendously over the regular price of a lab. And no insurance is necessary. Our platform is a cash pay. You'll know exactly when you place the order how much your total will be. There's no additional charges. You don't receive bills in the mail. You don't have to worry about that. And we also provide a complete receipt system so that if you do want to submit it to your insurance company for potential reimbursement, you certainly can. All insurance companies are a little different and they have different requirements, but at least you'll have a complete breakdown, detail, the CPT billing codes, things of that nature. Our platform provides that so that as a consumer, it's a simple one-stop shop to be able to secure and have access to really, really low-cost lab tests.
Well, so let's talk about the billing codes, because this is one of the things that came up a lot for me in the beginning of my journey is like, how do I get these labs covered by insurance? And there is a coding process. A lot of times what my experience was, and a lot of people in the community that I was managing at the time, and I'm sure in our Healing Rosie community too, what a lot of people were experiencing is their doctors didn't know the codes to put on labs to make sure they were covered. So are you guys familiar with the different coding that each of the labs need in order to be covered by insurance? Tell us how that's set up.
Right. So there's 2 sets of coding that are used. For reimbursement on insurance, there's like an ICD-10 code, which is a insurance it's based upon diagnosis of why the tests are being performed. Then there's a CPT code, which is a international type tracker code. So a CPT code could actually be listed to 5 or 6 different tests, where a diagnosis code is pretty specific. So generally a primary care physician or a licensed naturopathic physician in a state would be able to provide those diagnosis codes. For anyone using a HSA card or a FSA card, we also accept those, which is another way of being able to use maybe insurance dollars that you have. But you'll have to check with your insurance company prior to. So if you were going to have certain tests done, it's always best just to reach out to them and say, based upon the plan I have, what is my copay? What am my out-of-pocket going to be? And then you can come to the Healing Rosie site, enter in the test that you want, and be able to say, oh my gosh, it's $50, $60, $100 cheaper than if I use my insurance. In most instances, the copays are so high for everybody that you don't reach your copay so that your insurance pays 100% of, so you're going to have an out-of-pocket. And we found time and time and time again that our regular prices are lower than copay utilizing insurance. But if you do have a primary care, your primary care can get you the diagnosis codes, and you can submit them with your bill, and then you will see that.
Yeah, so I was actually just going to kind of connect to what you were saying. So one of the things that you can do, this is kind of a little healthcare hacking, we'll call health insurance hacking, how about that? Is call ahead, as Steve said, and specifically say, I need to get these labs run. I want to support my doctor in coding this properly for reimbursement. Tell me how this needs to be coded. Ask. I know that's like, for some reason, such a weird thing. People think, I mean, call them and ask, like they're going to be on to me. Yeah, they're on to you that you're trying to use your insurance, and it's totally fine. I have never heard of someone trying to call their insurance company to ask the proper way to code things or ask how things need to be coded, and they would not give them the information. So this is something that you can do to be really proactive and ensure that if you have the benefit on your insurance for reimbursement, that you get that. So call, ask, they'll give you the information, and you can make sure things are submitted properly. And by the way, even if you're working with your doctor, take your labs, take your lab request to your doctor, give them the CPT codes, and give them the codes that your insurance needs in order for you to get reimbursement. If you give that to your doctor, you're making it easier on them, and you're also making it so that the doctor is very likely to run all the labs you want. One of the things that has come up, I've experienced this myself. I experienced it with my current doctor, and I've experienced it many other times, and I'm working with a functional medicine doctor right now. I went in and asked for a bunch of labs, and there was resistance in running the labs. I specifically said, are you resisting because of the time it's going to take to find the CPT codes? The doctor said, yes. That's why I'm resisting. So I went, pulled all the CPT codes. Here you go. Here's what you need, just to make it easy. So there's definitely things that you can do on your side as a patient to really advocate for yourself in this area and make sure that things get covered. So Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you guys are able to service? Because there's a few states in the US that you don't service. And I've had a lot of questions come in of people asking if you're in Canada or for the UK or in other parts of the world. Why don't you talk to us about that?
Sure. So we are in 47 states. We're in all states in the United States except New York, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. Those are the 3 states that we're not allowed to offer our services. So even patients in those states, unfortunately, with a New York, New Jersey, or Rhode Island address, home address, we're unable to support you in your needs for lab tests. But the other 47 states, we're good. We do have patients that come down from Canada or even in from Europe. All of our services must be performed in the United States. We partner with Quest Diagnostics. So we have the full suite of Quest Diagnostics patient service centers across the United States, as well as their national laboratories versus using maybe regional labs. We have national labs that we use so that we have very consistent results for everybody across the country, whether they're in Washington State or in Florida or Connecticut. The results that are coming through are at a national level. And patients within states, if you live in let's say Minnesota, and you're visiting Arizona for the winter and you still want to stay in touch with your health, through our platform, you're able to order your tests, go into a local center in Arizona. It still stays, the records stay right with you as a patient. You have no problem. It's not like you have to run back home to have your labs done in your home state. So we do have patients that have dual residencies. Maybe they have a Florida residency and maybe a Rhode Island residency. When they're in Florida, they use our platform through the Florida residency And that's one way that it assists them. Business travelers use our platform a ton. When they're coming from Europe, they know when they're coming to the United States, and they can place their order online, arrive in the United States, and then get their blood drawn or whatever specimen sample that they're providing at a local Quest, and then they take the results home with them. Since it's online, it's available worldwide. So no matter where you're traveling, if you're traveling on a trip and you fall ill and you're dealing with physicians or doctors from a different country, you will be able to access your lab test results. If you've been having them and regularly keeping up on your biomarkers, you can let them know that what condition you've been in prior to them seeing, which could be actually life-saving to you as a world traveler.
Mm-hmm. So the important thing is that when the order is placed, that they're not using a New York, Rhode Island, or New Jersey address.
100%. Yeah, it's in those states, generally the surrounding states, if a lot of times we're approached with, well, can I just go across the bridge and go into Connecticut or go in, and unfortunately they're going to check your ID. They're going to see that it's from New York, and they're going to have to tell you no. So it's it's an unfortunate scenario, but it is the laws that govern those states. So generally those with dual residencies fare better because they have that residency in another state and they're able to utilize that.
Awesome. Okay, that's really helpful. So I was going to ask you, what lab provider you're using, and you just said Quest. One of the things that's been really interesting for the community is the fact that you are branching out and you're going to offer more than just blood labs. So why don't you let us know what other labs you're going to be offering in your timeline for rolling those out, because we are very interested.
Very good. And there is a huge response as we continue to grow. Quest is our number one lab that we currently use, and we use them for blood tests, fecal tests, urine tests, and saliva tests. But there's a greater need for additional saliva testing for both hormone testing, celiac disease testing, SIBO testing, and those are tests that aren't currently carried in the Quest platform. So we have been fortunate enough to been able to reach out to many of the major lab companies, and we are in contracts with them right now as we speak. We're looking at 30 days maybe for our first extra lab to come on, our newest lab partner, and in a total of about 4 months, we should have an additional 7 of major regional labs. So you'll see the SIBO testing, you'll see Dutch testing, you'll see saliva testing for hormones, where we'll be able to send kits out. Currently, we don't do kits. Currently, you go into a patient service center and have a phlebotomist draw your blood by venipuncture. But as we move forward, there's a complete line of saliva kits that are highly effective, excellent results on them, and it's able to be done in your home so that it's ease for the consumer. You don't have to even go to a patient service center. It will be dropped right in your mailbox for you. You'll be able to provide the saliva for it and ship it back all on a free shipper. So really self-contained. We're very excited about it because we know that there's a huge need for it. And folks have been asking for a long time for certain companies, certain tests that whether it's a not so much food allergy, but food nutrition testing and sensitivity testing, will now be carrying those where we haven't in the past.
Yeah, I know that the Dutch testing is of particular interest to our community because there's a lot of us that are dealing with a lot of the hormone dysfunction that occurs because of our toxic environments as we get
Right.
So that's a really popular test. And then there's also the gut tests. A lot of us have compromised guts, and that's what's creating a lot of our hormone issues. Pretty much, if you're having hormone issues, you have a compromised gut in some way.
Right.
So yeah, these tests are going to be really beneficial for us. And, there's some people in our community that they don't have doctors in their area that they're working with that even know that what these tests are, but they've learned because they're educating themselves and trying to reclaim their health or improve their health in some way. They've learned that these tests can provide valuable information. So it's really awesome that you're making it super easy for us to get the tests that we want.
It's been a long journey. It takes a lot to bring everybody in together. We want to keep the platform as your consumers use it, they'll see that it's a really simple process, easy three-step process to place an order. When the results come back in, we've made the reports so that they're easy to read. You don't have to be a physician to understand them. And so to get all of the labs that are already existing and that have certain reporting metrics, we want to make sure that we make it as combined and easy as we already have for the tests that we have. So it's taken a little longer than we've liked, but we're now right at the edge of rolling them out. So we're very excited.
That's awesome. Well, I'll make sure I keep you guys posted as I hear from Steve and his team when those tests are going to be available. So I have just some super practical questions that I want to make sure we cover that are likely to come up as people kind of get into this process a little more and decide to order their labs. The first is, do you need to schedule an appointment for the blood draw?
No, you don't need to schedule an appointment. When we use our Quest Patient Service Centers, walk-ins are welcome anytime that they're open.
Okay, awesome. Another one is, if someone is having trouble with the website, or maybe they're not comfortable placing their order online, is there a phone number or a place they can call to place their order?
100%. We have a full customer service department. It's at 800-714-0424. And we're staffed from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we're on Mountain Standard Time based here in Arizona.
Awesome. Okay. If someone places an order on the site and then for whatever reason doesn't get in right away to have their blood drawn, how long is their order good for?
Excellent. Our orders, once you place an order with us, the requisition is good for 6 months.
Okay. And then what happens if they've placed an order, 6 months have passed? They're obviously not going to be able to walk in. Is there a way to kind of refresh that order or get an extension?
Yep. All they have to do is reach out to us at our customer service department, and we simply refresh it in the system. It's a simple part on our side, but we need to let Quest know that that order is still active. So once we hit a button on our side, it refreshes, and then the patient can go in right away and have their labs done.
Awesome. Okay. Well, this is great. I am so excited for everyone to get a free T3 test. Thank you so much for doing that. I know that you guys normally give a different test away when you're working with a new partner, and the free T3 is the one that I know people in our community are going to be crazy about. Like I said, we have almost 200 likes and comments on that other post where I let everyone know you're going to have that. So that's going to be super exciting for us. So if you guys have questions for Steve, if anything comes up, if you just want to drop it in the comments here, I will follow up with him and make sure all of your questions are answered. You can use the links right here in this post to go hop over to the Ulta Labs site and check out the panels that we've set up. I'm also going to send an email out to those of you that are on our mailing list so that you'll have this and easily get your labs done. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.